Hello everybody, welcome to this recorded webinar for choice boards. In this video we'll talk about how we can create choice boards in the classroom. To get started here, you can get the slideshow for this session at the short link you see at the top of the screen here, bit.ly/choiceboards513. That'll get you the slideshow for this session. There's a few links and some pictures and stuff in there that are helpful to have. So again, you can get this the slideshow here at this link, bit.ly/choiceboards513. So welcome everybody, my name is Dan Neeson. I'm a Technology Integration Specialist at NeoNet. Here's my email on slide number 2. And you can visit our training website at training.neonet.org for all sorts of technology integration resources and some help videos, and a bunch of good stuff on there. So feel free to check out our website. So let's go ahead and dive in for this session here. So here's our to-do list for today. So we'll look at several choice board templates, where to find them, how to use them. We'll also talk about choice boards kind of in general as well. Then we'll also go into how you can make your own choice boards, and then we'll all take a quick peek at using the SAMR model in conjunction with choice boards. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into our first section here. And again, if you pull up the slideshow for yourself, all these links will be here for you on slide number 7. And let's go ahead and jump into our first few templates here. For our first link here is from Shake Up Learning. If you've never been to this website before, first of all, it's an awesome website to go to. There's a lot of good resources on here. Casey Bell runs this website, and she has tons of good stuff on here. A lot of the stuff is free. There's a lot of good resources, and she talks about a lot of stuff like with technology in education. And in this blog post here, this is all about using learning menus, aka choice boards, in class. And basically in this blog post you'll talk about the reasons to use them, how they work, as well as give a couple of templates. And if we scroll down just a little bit here, she gives a nice little summary of what learning menus, aka choice boards, are. So, of course, learning menus or choice boards are all about choice, and they're really just, the whole point of them is all about differentiated learning that gives students a menu or a choice of different learning activities to do. There's lots of different styles that they'll come in, and we'll talk about that today. And they're not necessarily a new idea, but with a more availability of like digital tools, it makes it a lot easier, and you can create a lot more dynamic types of activities. All right, and then we'll scroll down a little bit further here, and we'll go find our first thing. Oh, actually, one thing I want to mention real quick before we go into that is mentioning Hyperdocs real quick. So she addresses this question here, and it's a really good point. Are Hyperdocs and learning menus the same thing? Well, the answer is no. Hyperdocs are kind of their own thing, but they're not one and the same. Hyperdocs are more about a completely dynamic worksheet, not necessarily including student choice. You can create a choice board that is a Hyperdoc, but not necessarily all Hyperdocs are choice boards. It's kind of that sort of thing. Okay, so just make that quick little distinction there. They're not necessarily the same thing, but if you make or use a Hyperdoc, you can make them into choice boards. All right, so here's our first example that we'll talk about here. This is a Tic-Tac-Toe style. And so we'll scroll down a little bit here and look at this example here. And so what we have, of course, is this is an example of a choice board set up as a tic-tac-toe board. And as we can see from the directions here, she's going to have students start at number 5 and then make 2 other choices to make your tic-tac-toe. And so, of course, students are going to have to do number 5, but then it's completely up to them for what other activities that they want to do, as long as they make a tic-tac-toe out of it. So they could go diagonal, do 1, 5, and I think it's supposed to actually be 9, so 1, 5, and 9. They could do up and down for 2, 5, and 8, or they could do diagonal the other way, 3, 5, and 7, or 4, 5, and 6. So they can do any of those combinations that they want. And of course, when you're running this thing, when you give this thing out to your students yourself, you don't necessarily have to do the thing that she does, where everybody has to do number 5, the one in the middle. You can leave it completely open and say, do any combination that you want. You just have to make a tic-tac-toe. You can absolutely do that as well. All right, so if we go up a little bit above that picture, we'll see click here to make a blank tic-tac-toe template. this will make a template of this tic-tac-toe board for ourselves. Of course, it's blank, so we're just going to fill it in with our own actual activities. All right. So in this example here, of course, this is just a nice blank template for us to use, and we'll just come up to the top right and do Use Template. There's two main ways that you'll see these templates can be made. One is this way, where it kind of gives you like a preview of what this like actual file is going to look like. The other style that we'll see in a little bit is basically just a blank white page, and all it says is like make a copy. Either way, it does the same thing. All right, but anyway, so here is our tic-tac-toe menu choice board now. And of course, we simply just fill in our directions, and then we just fill in all of our different activities. And of course, we could get rid of this little star, in the middle of number 5 if we don't want to have force students to do number 5. If they, again, if you want them to do just any combination, that's totally fine. Or leave it there, whatever you want to do. This is your choice board now. This is a completely editable file that you can do. All right, and then like I said, from here, you just start filling in whatever activities that you need. Going back to Casey Bell's example here, she puts in a bunch of these different examples here. Create a fictional interview video, create character trading cards, write a diary, create an interactive digital timeline, write a paragraph summary, make a soundtrack, create a comic strip, create a book trailer, make a book jacket. So all those things there, that's a lot of different activities, and that might give you pause for a second and go, wait a minute. I have to sit here and make all those 9 different activities? Well, not necessarily. So, of course, a lot of that stuff that you kind of see here, a lot of that stuff falls on the students to make. So all these things on here, all the directions for the students to do are in that box, right? So for, the one that is, make those character trading cards, all the directions that students are going to need are right there inside of that box. You don't necessarily need to go and make a template for each activity for all the students there. So you can just make one choice board, and all the directions are fitted onto the choice board. So you don't have to necessarily make 9 different activities. A lot of the stuff is going to be what students are going to be making themselves. A lot of the onus is really just going to fall on them. All right, so let's keep going here. There's a couple more examples here that she gives on this blog post here. She also goes into kind of talking more about learning menu design, and this is kind of the idea of, let me scroll down a little bit and find. Let me scroll down. Here we go, and find this learning menu. It's kind of the whole gimmick of this one. It's kind of based on like a restaurant menu kind of thing. And so what? Let me go ahead and make a copy of this one as well. And so essentially what we have is it kind of mocks like a restaurant menu where students will basically do one activity from each course. So they'll do one activity as like an entree, they'll do one activity as like a beverage, and one thing as a side, and one thing as a dessert item. And it's kind of just a fun, goofy way to do training menus. And as you can see here, this one's completely built into Google Slides as opposed to the other one, which was in Docs. And so the idea with this style of choice board here is that you kind of have this summary homepage like we see here, but instead of all the directions being in one spot, you basically just have kind of the main menu, for lack of a better term. And basically the idea is that students will come in and pick one thing as an entree, one thing as an appetizer, so on and so forth. And if they say, okay, for my entree, I'll do the Google Drawing poster activity, they'll click on it and notice it's linked here. It's going to link over to that slide where you get the full directions for that activity. So if a student picks this Google Drawing activity here, then they'll come in and create a Google Drawing. Once you're finished, share with your teacher and do this and that, right? And of course the students will just do whatever is on that page. And notice in the bottom right, there's even a little back to main menu button. That'll take you back. And so a little bit later on, we'll look at how you can make something like this for yourself. Okay, but as you can imagine, this is just another good style of doing a choice board. And as you can tell here, you can kind of split these things up however you like. So again, for the more difficult things, like higher order thinking types of activities, you can have them do fewer numbers of those towards the end of their choice board experience, kind of do that as the dessert type of thing. And then for the things that kind of get them started, you can kind of start, basically scaffold them up with like the starters and the appetizers, that sort of thing. All right, so again, that template is here on this blog post from Shake Up Learning as well. One thing I skipped past here is this is kind of another way that she's done tic-tac-toe choice boards was through like PD. So of course, this is kind of just another example here. You can kind of see all the different examples of using choice boards, but this is specifically more for PD for teachers. But of course, it's still kind of the same idea. All right, then here's another style as well. So this one, as opposed to the like tic-tac-toe style or the restaurant menu style, this one's like a bingo style. And this one's again kind of built more for PD, but the only difference is just the actual content that you kind of put into it. The overall shell itself can be the same, whether you're teaching students or teaching teachers. But anyway, so here's our PD bingo one, and it's kind of the same idea as we saw for as we saw for the tic-tac-toe, where the students, or if it's a PD session, teachers will have to make 4 in a row in any direction by doing PD bingo. Okay. And again, all these templates and everything are linked here on slide number 7 under that first bullet point for Shake Up Learning. All right, so let's keep on going here. We'll go into our next one here. A few more templates from Hello Teacher Lady. It's another good blog post to check out. So if you ever want to read up on some good tech and education type stuff, this is a good blog post to check out. And in this blog post here, she talks about it's kind of the same stuff that we saw in Shake Up Learning, talking about the point of using choice boards, how to use them, that kind of stuff. But in this example here, she gives us some other templates here. These ones aren't as like filled with stuff, but these ones are nice and simple and kind of ready to go. And basically the idea here is this, what we're seeing right now is kind of like your home page. So this would be like the main menu, where over on the left hand side you would have your directions, and then maybe for example you tell students, okay, in the directions here you say, okay, pick any 2 of these activities to do, and they would go and click on any one of these little sticky notes, and it would take them over to that particular slide. Okay, and just like we saw with that learning restaurant menu thing, this is where we get all the specific directions for that actual activity. And this one's is obviously blank, but it's just a nice template to use, so you don't have to mess with all the formatting. And that's one of the things that you don't have to kill yourself over and spend a whole bunch of time doing, is messing around with all the formatting and stuff when you can just have these nice looking templates that are ready to go. If we scroll down this page, there's a video where she talks about how to make them. There's another template in here as well. I'll just show you the picture of this one here. You can obviously make copies of these for yourself from this page. But in this example here, this one's kind of the same idea. This was just a Google Doc choice board, but instead of having this one set up like a game, as you can tell from the directions, it says make your way through the choice board below. When you finish each task, mark it as completed. Basically, the idea of this choice board is there's 12 different activities on here. Students are going to end up doing all of them. They can just do them in whatever order they want, and that's kind of a nice thing to have, because some students that your higher end students, they may want to just go get the hard stuff done right away and then just tailor off and kind of do the easy stuff later on. Some kids will want to do the easy stuff to start off with. Some kids will kind of want to mix and match. Again, that little bit of differentiation here can make a big difference. So again, especially if you have 12 different activities here, some of them harder, some of them easier, that can make a big difference for what students are actually going to want to do. All right, and again, that template is linked here for you as well as another video for you. And there's kind of some more stuff using this stuff in action. All right, so again, this blog post is lots of good stuff in here. Obviously, all those templates are linked here for you, so feel free to check those out. All right, so our next one here is 19 templates from Engaged Ukt. And this is another blog post here. These ones are also just nice looking, easy to use templates for choice boards that are pretty straightforward. And on this blog post, she also talks about the reason to use choice boards and some examples and things like that, as you can see. If you click right on top of this first picture here, it'll take you over to this template here that just has all these blank templates for you. And these are just nice looking templates that are, again, good to go, so you don't have to sit there and mess with all the formatting and stuff. And so, of course, then all you have to do is fill in, your different types of activities that you can do. All right, so as you can see, there's a bunch of different slides in here with different styles and stuff. You can obviously you can click on Use Template, and then it'll make a copy for you, and then you'll own that, and then of course you can fill it up with whatever stuff that you actually that you want. Okay, and of course there's lots of different choices. There's 19 different slides in there. You can mix and match and choose whatever styles that you like. All right, and then here's another blog post here from the TCEA. And so in this post here, they do a good job talking about what choice boards are and why to use them. So let me scroll down a little bit, and we're going to find these couple of reasons here, talking about some good best practices for using choice boards. And so we'll just read over this part real quick here. So choice boards are set up in a grid, generally with 9 squares, but of course that can fluctuate a lot. You can require that students complete items from the choice board in a specific way. This can involve students choosing choices in a row, one activity from different colored sections, or allow them to pick at random. You can even vary the level of difficulty. And so here's a couple of good suggestions here. So it's a good idea to focus on a single concept or learning expectation. Each activity square should relate to a different multiple intelligence. Encourage students to complete 3 activities in a row. Again, that one can really depend on how involved each activity is, of course. Then finally, each square, with the exception of the interpersonal square, are individual activities. Now for that point, choice boards by themselves can be collaborative or they can not be collaborative. That's completely up to you. You can have a lot of individual learning happening, and then maybe just 1 or 2 of the choices are collaborative in nature. And of course, there's certain things that we saw earlier where you can force students to do certain tasks in a choice board, then they have choices elsewhere. So that's a possibility. So if you want to have a little bit of collaboration, you can force them to do a collaboration activity, but all the other activities they can pick and choose which ones they want to do. Okay, so you have lots of different choices there. Here on this website here as well, there's another video here that basically just talks about how to create choice boards, which of course we'll cover here in just a little bit. And now here's some other lists, some other reasons here why choice boards are a good educational strategy. So of course they facilitate differentiated learning opportunities. They can be used in any subject. They can provide context for students to engage in in a variety of their senses, offer learners of all ages choices in how they learn about a topic or understand a familiar one. They provide tiered levels of learning opportunities, which we'll also talk more about in just a little bit. They serve as a contract between students and teachers, which really, again, like we talked about, it really puts a lot of the onus on students to be really responsible for their own learning. They can also be adapted for special education or IEPs. Of course, you just follow those accommodations. You can make those accommodations in the choice board. Like we said, you can increase student ownership of their work. It focuses students on essential knowledge, skills, and strategies aligned to curricular goals, and it makes it easy to manage a single lesson, a week-long lesson, or even a month-long period of study. So some of the stuff that we've seen or that we will talk about, some things are relatively short, that they can be done pretty quickly over the course of one 45-minute class period. Some things may take a couple of days or a week or a couple of weeks. It kind of depends on what you're actually doing. These things have a lot of flexibility to them just because they're inherently flexible. It depends on what sorts of activities you're having students do. And here on the site again, there's some more examples here of different choice board. It links over to their Pinterest But it gives you some examples of some choice boards here, as well as some more templates here. Fair warning, some of these links don't work anymore, so just kind of a heads up about that. Most of them do, but a few of them don't. And just as an example here, if we go to like the math one, for example, this one is a collection of like 8th grade math choice boards here. And if we go into one of these as an activity here, open up this file. And so in this example here, we have this choice board, and we can see, let's see, you must do 2 assignments from this page. Each is worth 50 points, and together add up to a test grade for the month. Answer them on a separate sheet of paper, etc., etc. Okay, and as we can see, this choice board now looks like it has 9 different choices, and kids are going to pick 2 of the 9, and it sounds like it's actually replacing a actual standard test. All right, and then of course there's different types of activities here. One is create a table showing the first 10 digits of the following graphs, create a how-to worksheet or poster for linear equations, create a wanted person poster for the people of Fulcroft, pretend your equation looking for your matching table or graph, and of course all this stuff, a lot of the stuff you're going to see here kind of has this key word in here, create, 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 right? A lot of this stuff is going to be student made, student created. As you can see here, all the directions are right on this actual paper, and that's pretty much it. A lot of the stuff here is obviously, this is on the higher end of Bloom's. This is kind of these are extension activities in this example. Again, this is kind of one way to use a choice board is for how are students going to demonstrate what they have learned, and are we going to have them just do some basic, lower level of Bloom stuff and scaffold our way up, or are we already there and we want to have let them create, let them actually show what they learned. Okay, and then of course in this example you can kind of explore all that stuff. All right, so again, on this website here, there is a ton of good stuff on here for you to check out. So again, this is on the TCEA website. And again, feel free to visit that. Again, it's linked on slide number 7 for us here. And so our next one here is for choice boards from EdTech. This one kind of has a little bit of a different approach, but it's still a really, really good idea. In this example, this one kind of takes a more of a scaffolding approach to choice boards. And basically the idea that they're kind of rolling with is that there is going to be, here we go, it's a scaffolded or like a tiered approach where when students begin, they're in the research phase. And then as they move forward, they're going to get into the formative assessment rather. Then they get into the summative assessment. Then, after the summative assessment, they have, in theory, have reached the learning goal. Okay, and so the idea with this choice board here, let me go ahead and pull this up here. You can get it by signing up to for their email list there. I also have it linked here on our slideshow for you as well, so that can save you some time. And the idea with this with these scaffolded choice boards is instead of there being just basically a free reign over the whole choice board where students pick whichever one they want, the idea is you'll pick 1 or 2 activities from each row. And so, like, for example, here's our level 1 row. This is the introductory activities. So something like a screencast or a reading. They give you some suggestions like an Edpuzzle or a YouTube or a Google Form or something like that. And then they'll basically complete 1 or 2 activities, whatever you want, in each row. And as they move up, after they get kind of the basics done, then they get into the formative assessments section where we'll see what they've learned so far. Something like a ThingLink or a GimKit or a Flipgrid, those are all good resources, all good tech tools that students can do. And all you have to do is just link those activities on this page, and then they can go and just do them right away. Then once they get past their formative assessment, then they'll get into their summative assessment, track their mastery, see what they have learned over the whole lesson. This is where, again, you hit the higher levels of Bloom's. We're at the top of the scaffolding, if you will. This is where they're going to be creating something or analyzing something, right? Maybe they'll make a new Google site or make a video project or make a poster project, really create something. Okay? And so, of course, that kind of leads us into the next section of, okay, so a lot of this stuff is good. what if I want to make one for myself, right? So of course, all we have to do is really just know 4 pretty easy skills to make your own choice boards. So the biggest thing about choice boards is really not about making the choice boards themselves, like kind of making the template for them themselves. The most challenging thing about making choice boards is really just giving students all the different choices for them to do. That's the trickiest thing, because sometimes you may have to make like templates for them to work on, like a worksheet or something like that, or make a video for them, or go find a video, or actually go and create all the different choices for them to go do. That's the trickiest part. Okay, so it takes a good bit of planning, though. All right. All right, so here is our 4 big skills that we need to know for choice boards. So one is we need to know how to hyperlink to an outside website, hyperlink to another slide in a Google Slideshow, create a table, and insert hyperlinks. For our purposes here, we're just sticking purely just to Google Docs and Google Slides for our purposes. Of course, you can make choice boards in whatever tech tool you want. Okay? All right. So let's go ahead and make a new Google Doc. Excuse me. So we'll go ahead and make a new Google Doc at docs.new. That's a nice little keyboard shortcut there. If you do docs.new in the address bar, that'll make you a brand new Google Doc. And as this gets made here, I'll just give it a title. I'll just call this Doc Choice Board. And then from here, we simply just start making our choice board, just kind of using this 4 main skills that we need from here. It's actually only 3 if we're using a Google Doc, because we don't need to link to a different slide. So we simply just start putting in our directions, and then we make the actual choice board itself. So we'll start with making our directions. I'll use a fun font just for fun here. So I like Bangers. That one's a fun one. Make it a little bit bigger. Give this a name. If I can spell choice right, there we go. Then we'll put in our directions. Maybe I'll use a different font for a little different fun there. So say complete the choice board below. Pick one activity from each row. Okay, there we go. We have our choice board. And now we simply will put in the actual choice board itself. And if we were to go back and look at those examples that we've seen so far, the ones in Google Docs at least, all of the choice boards are just made using tables. That's all they are. So if we just go under the insert, and then we go under table, and we can drag it over to whatever size that we want. So for me, I'll probably do like a 4x4 table. I think that'll be a good size. And then we simply will put in all of our details and activities. So if we have, we'll kind of copy the same thing we started with that scaffolding type activity here. So I'll call this one level 1, level 2, and level 3. And then they'll pick one activity. So activity 1, activity 2, and activity 3. Okay. And maybe I'll resize it around, kind of make it look nice. If you want to have all the letters be vertical, like we saw in the example earlier, if you just squish over the row like narrow enough, it'll have them be all vertical up and down if you'd like. So if I want to do that, I can. And then you'll notice once I did that, though, I just made this first box, like this first column, really, really wide compared to the other two. So what we can do is if we highlight all those boxes that we want to be the same size, notice those are all highlighted, then right-click on top of one of them here. Then we'll go into this menu and we'll find either distribute rows or distribute columns. That means it's just going to make them the equal size. So like for example, in our case here, I stretched out the columns so their width is different. So I'll do distribute columns. And there we go. So notice now that all these different activity boxes are all the same size. Okay. And then we can start putting in our different activities here. So for the first one here, maybe I'll say, watch this video and complete this Google form quiz. Okay, and for this level 1 stuff, this is kind of the introductory types of activities, right? And so I could put a hyperlink in. I'll highlight the word or phrase that I want to be hyperlinked. Either right-click on top of it or go find the link button in the toolbar, and we'll link it over to whatever we want. So I'll just put it to youtube.com just for our purposes. But again, if you had a video that you found or that you want to use, of course, you can just link it right there. And same thing for a Google Form quiz. So if you have a quiz that's set up to be to work with this activity, you can do that. Or if you have like an Edpuzzle thing, whatever you want. So then I'll just have this go over to Google Forms. And that's all we have to do for our first activity. Again, some things you may have to do, like some background work, like find a video or make a form quiz. But those things generally don't take too long to do. Then we'll make another activity here. Maybe for this one will be really straightforward. We'll just say like read pages, 34 to 40 in the textbook, and answer questions 1 through 11 on page 41. Okay. Of course, lots of textbooks have, pre-made questions and stuff already in the textbook, so that's a nice, easy activity for them to do. And then activity 3, other things that we can do that are kind of simple, low-level, introductory type things. Maybe we could have, join Mr. Neeson, that's me, the teacher, for a small group lecture. All right, and of course, roughly maybe 1/3 of students will make that choice. Maybe 1/3 of students will pick activity 2 and 1/3 will pick activity number 1. And so of course students have the choice of whatever different options that they want to do. And of course, again, you can style this stuff up however else that you like. You can change the background color of these things, kind of make it nice and pretty. If you highlight those different boxes, we'll go find the background color button here. And of course we can make it look nice with all these different colors. We can set these things to be like maybe centered and have them, be centered on the page or centered on in their cells rather. And then of course, we could sit here all day and fiddle around with all the colors and all this good stuff. Whatever, of course, for our purposes, we won't fill out this whole thing. But again, as you can imagine, oops, sorry about that. So as you can imagine, you'll have all these different choices in here for students to do. And again, that's the biggest thing. The most challenging thing is not actually building the choice board. It's just thinking of all the different possible activities that you can do. And at that point, you just look back at all the activities that you normally do in class, and you just pull in those different types of activities and give students the choice. Okay, you can either do this one or this one. All right, and that's pretty much all you need to do for a Google Doc choice board. Now, if you want to do a slides choice board, let's take a look at how to do that. So let's go ahead and make a new Google Slideshow. And so we'll head over to slides.new. That'll make us a brand new Google Slideshow. Of course, you can put a theme on there if you like. For our purposes, I'll just leave it blank just to keep it simple. And basically the idea is kind of like if you think back to what we were looking at when we were looking at the like the restaurant menu style of choice board. We basically need to make like a main menu and then have all our different choices in there, and then have allow students to click and jump over to those individual activities where they get the full directions. Okay, so for our purposes here, I'll just kind of use this first slide here. Maybe I'll change the layout to make it a little bit easier. There we go. And then I'll just kind of put in our directions here. I'll just do this real quick just to make it nice and simple. So I'll say pick any 3 activities from the list below. Okay. And so of course, we'll put in our different options here. So we can put in like complete a Flipgrid activity, create a graphic, create a summary video, complete a graphic organizer, with a friend, maybe like a peer review kind of thing, and then one more if we do, we'll call this a video quiz. Okay, so of course these can be all sorts of different types of activities. Again, it's completely up to you for if you're going to just completely give students free reign over any activity that they want to do, or if you want them to have pick and choose certain ones that they have to do, and other ones that they can kind of pick and choose which ones to do. And then from there, what we'll do is we will simply make a slide for each one of these different types of activities here. All right, so we'll make a new one here. First one is a Flipgrid activity. And we'll put in all of our directions. Of course, you put in whatever directions and links and whatever you need from there. The next one was creating a graphic. And again, you put in all your directions and so on and so forth in there. The next one was make a summary video. So make a summary video, include the following, put in whatever all the details that you need on each slide. And then we have a graphic organizer, peer review, and video quiz. So graphic organizer, peer review, and then our last one was a video quiz. All right, and then of course once we have all our slides done, they have all the directions in them, then we just need to link each one to this home page, to this main menu. So to do that, we just take our first one here, and we're going to make a hyperlink out of it. So we'll go find our hyperlink button. But instead of putting a web address here, we'll click on this drop down and find the correct slide in this presentation. So we'll go find our Flipgrid activity slide. In this case, it's slide number 2. Click apply, and we just keep repeating from there. Create a graphic, create a hyperlink here, and we'll go find that slide where it has all the directions for that activity. There we go, create a graphic, create a summary video. Some things it's like difficult to scroll down and find the correct slide. If that ever happens, just zoom out of the page with control and minus sign. That'll help you see a little bit better. So there we go, summary video, graphic organizer. All right, and so on and so forth, right? And then from there, we are pretty much good to go. The one other thing that we can do, besides just styling it up and making it look pretty and everything, is the other thing that we can do is give students a little home button to use. So once they finish with one of the activities, they can click on a little home button, which will take them back to the main menu, where they can then go and pick a different activity to go and do. Okay, so this is really easy to do. All we have to do is go under the Insert tab at the top and go under Image. So insert an image, and then search the web, and then we can just look for like a house or home symbol. and whichever one that we like. So I'll just use that one there. And we'll just shrink it down, put it all the way down in the bottom corner so it's out of the way. Okay, and all we have to do is give a click on top of it, and we're going to make a hyperlink out of this picture. So we'll go into Control K to do a hyperlink, and we'll also do slides in this presentation, and we'll pick our home slide, in this case it's slide number 1, and click on Apply. Then we just simply copy and paste this little home button on every one of the slides. So just Control C, Control V to paste on each slide there. All right, and now I have this little home button here, which when somebody clicks on it, it'll take them back to this home page, to this main menu. All right, one other thing to mention real quick about Google Slide choice boards. Now, if you want to give these choice boards out to students through your LMS, like through Google Classroom or whatever other LMS you use, you can put them in like as an attachment in Classroom, which is fine, but it's not going to open up in full screen. It won't open up in like present mode like this. It'll open up in like this regular like editing view. Okay, so if you want to give students the presentation here in full screen, we'll create a shareable link first. Go into the link sharing, go ahead and make a link, keep it in your domain if it's going to be just for students. Copy that link, and then if we paste it down here in the speaker notes, what we're going to do is we're going to make a little change in the web address of this shareable link. So we're going to go find the word edit that's in the web address here. We're going to erase that, and in its place, we're going to type preview in its place. Okay? Make a shareable link, paste it somewhere, erase the word edit that's in the URL, and put preview in its place. Okay? Then we just copy this link, copy that, go put it in Google Classroom, Schoology, whatever LMS that you use, or however you send out links. When somebody is given let me actually do it this way. When a student goes to click on that link that you posted for them, this is what they'll see. It'll be pulled up just like this. Notice it pops it right in here into full screen, but they're still able to move to other tabs. Okay, and notice here if they start this activity here, and maybe they say, okay, I want to do the graphic activity. They'll click on that. It'll take them to this page where they see all the directions for what they're supposed to do for this graphic activity. And then once they're done, they'll click on that little home button. It'll take them back here. They'll go pick a different activity. Maybe they do this graphic organizer, do all the directions on there, and they go back to the home again. All right, so that's how you can make a Google Slideshow into a choice board. All right, so a couple other things to mention real quick here is you can also summarize your choice board. So the SAMR model is kind of the whole idea of, it's kind of like a framework for how to effectively use technology in education. And we can combine that with choice boards to kind of use some scaffolding again in your choice boards. Now, a lot of the time there's so many different tech tools out there that it's kind of hard to know what is best to use, right? So there is a great SAMR matrix here that was put together by Alex Orris. He's a technology integration specialist at Cuyahoga Falls Schools, and he put this awesome SAMR matrix together, and it's linked here on slide number 9 there for you. And this little graphic here does an awesome job of summarizing all the different tech tools that you can use for like the most like common sorts of classroom activities that you do. So like here we go, across the bottom here we see our traditional assignments like handwritten papers and hand-drawn images and posters and speeches and discussions and so on and so forth. And then as you go up the page, it takes you up through the SAMR model, and takes you also up through higher order thinking. The lower you stay, the lower you are on blooms, or lower in scaffolding as you go. But as you go higher, the higher up you go. And so if we take the example of a handwritten paper, If you're looking for a tech tool to kind of bump it up a little bit, here's some examples. So we have a Google Doc, or sharing in Google Docs, or we have things like Hemingway or Book Creator. And so all these pictures on here are also linked for you, where it goes over to their blog site where he explains about each tool, as well as how to get over to the actual website itself. Okay, so this page here does an awesome job of summarizing all the things that you can do, of the most common sorts of activities that you do in class, but how you can give a tech tool to go along with them and kind of transform how they work, as well as pull these things into a choice board. Because all you have to do from here is, if you are doing, excuse me, if you're doing something like maybe a poster presentation. Maybe that's one of the choices that you want to have your students do. And instead of just doing a good old-fashioned PowerPoint or Google slide, maybe you want them to do something a little bit more interactive or fun that they can do with other students, and that you give them a Nearpod to do, or a Pear Deck, or a Prezi thing. Okay, and all you have to do is give them that link to go get started, and then of course students can be creating. All right, so of course that's a good resource for you guys to check out at your leisure. And that will pretty much bring us down to the end here, guys. So here's our to-do list that we started out with today. So we looked at lots of different choice board templates. All those are linked here on this slideshow for you. Again, the slideshow link is bit.ly/choiceboards513, all lowercase. We also looked at how you can make your own choice boards. Relatively easy to do. Like I said, the most tricky thing is thinking of all the different types of activities that you can actually fill up your choice board with. And then finally, we took a quick peek at summarizing your choice boards with more tech tools that kind of correspond to higher order thinking skills. Alright, so that's going to bring us down to the end here, guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email at dneeson@neonet.org. Check out our training website for other future upcoming trainings. Don't worry about the sign in here button, you can skip that. There's also a quick survey, but if you do want to check that out. Alright, so thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.